All right, so thank you for tuning in to Chompin at the Bit. This is episode 43. This episode, I'm going to take a look back at Week 9 in the NFL. I'm going to go over big observations I made from watching the games, as well as, of course, by the end of the episode, review my Week 9 picks, see how well I did. Also go over some NFL news and notes, as, they did make some news today off the field. Go over that. And then, of course, in the episode, we'll look ahead to the episodes of the week that are coming up. But first, just want to say, now this is mainly for, my Boston fans out there. But if you didn't hear the news, Tommy Heinsohn, Celtics legend and announcer that we've all come to love, he died today at 86. And, just want to talk about that for a couple minutes. But, if you're like me, a Celtics fan, and even though I'm in Atlanta, I still watch all the games online or whatever, or when they're on national TV. And even on national TV, I will try to find the Celtics broadcast, because Tommy Heinsohn has become a big part of Celtics basketball, ever since he played, he coached, all that. But it's a sad day for the Celtics franchise. He was seen as kind of a homer. He was a color analyst. Most color analysts are kind of homers for their team. Heinsohn lived and died with the Celtics. He, as much as he was called a homer, he could be critical at times. I do give him that. Was very passionate on the airwaves. Always going at at referees, Tony Brothers, what's his name? But, yeah, he just made him and Mike Gorman, I think, are the best local NBA color commentary team in the NBA. It's going to be sad not being able to listen to him this upcoming season. My guess is they'll probably have Scalabrini fill in for him. I don't know. There's nothing's official yet, but that's just my guess. But definitely just wanted to say, rest in peace, Tommy Heinsohn, and thoughts and prayers go out to the Celtics family as well as his family with this surprise passing. Last year he did have some health issues come up, but the NBA definitely lost a great one today. So I just wanted to say that before I did get started. So Tommy Heinsohn, you will be missed. But I guess moving on to NFL news. So the NFL and the Players Association today, they agreed that if the season is cut short anyway because of, the ongoing pandemic with, rising cases again, then they're already expanding the playoffs this year from 12 to 14 teams, but they agreed that they are willing to expand it from 14 to 16 teams for this year. I guess we all know why that is. If you are cut short in the regular season, then you're losing out on revenue that way. And with more stadiums now allowing fans in, they're starting to recoup some of the revenue they lost earlier in the season. So if the season is cut short, by adding in, one more AFC and one more NFC playoff team, then playoff money, hopefully by then, stadiums can maybe have a little more fans, but it's another way to recoup the money that they've lost in this crazy season. So 14 to 16 teams, they did not lay out how many games need to be cut before the playoffs do expand to 16. Well, I guess we'll have to wait for that later on. The NFL is still going ahead, hoping that they get all 16 games in within the 17-week schedule. So they just put this provision in there as a safety measure, I guess a doomsday type measure. But the plan is to go 16 games with the 14-team playoff and then just go from there. And then also, they agreed, I guess this might be a little controversial, I don't know, but it was last year where they brought up the idea of, we need to increase minority hirings within the NFL. And it was thrown out there that, they might start rewarding teams for hiring minority head coaches as well as GMs. When it was first announced, it came about with some backlash because they thought it was, I think a lot of the analysts and stuff thought it was kind of a joke move, forcing teams, and then they're worried that, some coaches and GMs may not, get jobs only because of this, just for the team to get rewarded for it and not really be given a chance to succeed, which I guess is still an issue, because what's going to stop a team from hiring a minority coach to then fire them after a year just to gain the reward? But they, shelved it for a little bit, but they went back to it in these talks and they decided that they will award teams 2 third-round compensatory picks. So, I guess if you don't know, a compensatory pick is usually a pick that you get when you like trade players away or you lose free agents. Depending on the value of the player that you lose in free agency or in the offseason mainly, you get a compensatory pick. And I believe the third round is the first round where compensatory picks do happen. So now this is another way for teams to gain compensatory picks, and it's for hiring minorities. And it's not like you don't get it for hiring like an assistant coach or something. It has to be your head coach or your GM, because currently there are 4 head coaches and 2 GMs that are minorities. And in this measure, the NFL is trying to increase that number, which is a good thing. But like I said, hopefully, these minority coaches and GMs are given real shots with these teams, and it's not something where teams are looking just to take advantage of the short-term reward, but aren't looking long run with these minority hires. So we'll have to wait and see on this one. There is a lot of good that could come out of this, but hopefully on the NFL side, this was a good gesture to lead to something bigger with more minorities in high positions of head coach and GM. So that kind of takes care of the news and notes of the day for the NFL. So we'll go ahead, take a look at week 9 in terms of on the field. And from watching the games, highlights and all that, there were 3 things that did jump out at me from this past week. First one was with the Dolphins. So you remember, they were 3-3 heading into their bye week. The Dolphins made the decision to, bench Ryan Fitzpatrick, bring in Tua, which I did say in the beginning of the season that I was expecting to see Tua at some point this year. I just wondered how long would Miami wait. Well, turns out they waited for the week before their bye to get Tua some action, gave him the bye week to practice, and now it's starting to pay off. They are 2-0 with Tua starting. No, last week they beat the Rams, but it was more of a simplified game plan. They didn't really expose Tua too much. Well, all bets are off now because they let Tua be Tua. He looked like Alabama Tua against the Cardinals in what was a great game. The Dolphins did pull it out 34-31, and they've improved to 5-3. They are alive in the playoff race. And there's a lot of excitement going on down there in Miami with, Tua bringing a nice youthful energy to the team. And, the team is really starting to think playoffs at this point. I mean, you're 5-3. So You've gotten through half your schedule. You got another half to go. And so right now they are sitting, I believe they are a wild card team right now. Yeah, so right now the Dolphins would be the 7th final playoff team, which, coming into this year, a lot of people thought the Dolphins were a year, maybe 2 away. So if they are able to sneak into the playoffs, even if it is the 7th seed, that's definitely a big win for them moving forward. And then just looking at the rest of their schedule, like I said, they're 5-3 now, and there's no reason why they won't be favorites in probably 5 out of their 8. So it's possible the Dolphins could end up being 10-6. And, if they get to 10-6, they're definitely going to be in the playoff. Now, the only thing you have to say is, Tua is still a rookie. So, he is bound to have, a stinker here and there. So maybe one of these games that they should win, maybe they end up losing. But yeah, just the schedule is, they have Chargers, winnable. Broncos, winnable. The Jets, of course, winnable. Bengals, winnable. They have one against the Chiefs. Now, depending on where the Chiefs are, the Chiefs have shown the ability to relax a little bit. The Dolphins could easily take advantage there. There's Patriots. That's winnable. Let's be honest. They have the Raiders, winnable. Finish with the Bills. Once again, if the Bills have the division locked up and are kind of locked into a playoff seed, maybe that's a game where they rest some players. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Dolphins legitimately go 10-6 this year, surprise everyone, and make the playoffs. But back to Sunday. Like I said, they opened up the playbook. They let Tua work. Tua went 20 for 28, 248 yards, 2 touchdowns. He didn't throw a pick. That's big. And then he also ran with the ball 7 times for 35 yards. And he had a QBR of 87.8. Now, QBR is on a scale of 1 to 100. Your average performance gets you a 50. So basically an 88, you're above average. That's a great day. So definitely something to look at if the Dolphins can keep this momentum and strive on to the playoffs. Second observation was the Steelers. Now, coming into Sunday's matchup with the Cowboys, the Steelers were a heavy favorite. I believe they were a 10.5 point favorite in that game. Dallas with no Andy Dalton. He's fighting an illness. Ben DiNucci, who was the backup to Dalton, was benched. They turned to Garrett Gilbert, who was making his first start of the year. And you know what? He did well for his first start going against a Steelers defense that was, one of the best in the league. Steelers defense are very aggressive, like blitzing a lot. And Garrett Gilbert, I gotta say, he held his own. He went 21 for 38, 243 yards. He had a touchdown and an interception. But you know what? He wasn't turning the ball over all over the place. So because of that, and because the Cowboys defense was able to hold the Steelers to field goals early, and they did block a couple of kicks, I believe, the Cowboys actually went into the half up 13-9. But the Steelers, being the better team, came out in the second half, outscored Dallas 15-6, which led to the 24-19 win for the Steelers. Big Ben, went 29 for 42, 306 through the air, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 75.4 QBR. But I don't know. I feel like I'm still not sold on the Steelers. like just looking at it right now, if you ask me to make a prediction, I don't think the Steelers are the favorite to come out of the AFC. Something tells me that they're setting this up to be maybe the one, probably the 2 seed in the AFC. And for some reason, I see them going out early in the playoffs. I'm not sold on Big Ben. You know, Big Ben was good early on in his career, but he's gone through a long stretch in the middle towards the end of towards present time where he has underperformed, had injury issues, and I just think that Ben is going to come out at some point. Right now, you know, they're 8-0, last undefeated team, but I feel like come playoff time, the Steelers are going to be right there for the picking for one of the lower seeds to possibly take out in the first round. But if they get the 1 seed, they get the bye. So whenever their first game is, depending on matchups now, of course, I could see a lower seeded team knocking them off in the playoffs. And then, side note, Big Ben is one of 4 Steelers who was placed on the COVID-19 list, as his neighbor in the locker room, Vance McDonald, tested positive. So, of course, Big Ben, based off of proximity, has been placed on the list. And, you know, he and McDonald are pretty good friends, which is why their lockers are near each other. So, precautionary reasons, he's been put on the list. We'll have to see what his status is for the Steelers' next game. So definitely something to watch, you know, leading into the week to this upcoming weekend. If any news changes there, definitely let you know. But on to third observation. Now, this is about a team that I've been talking about a lot. A team that I said was probably the best in the NFC, but now starting to come back to the pack, definitely. But is there a cause for concern in the Pacific Northwest? The Seattle Seahawks. So the Seahawks played the Bills, and Russell Wilson had a tough day. He turned the ball over 4 times. Now, never a good thing for your quarterback to be the reason for all of your turnovers. He had 2 interceptions, and he also had 2 fumbles, which he lost, and the Bills were able to recover. But, you know, as I did predict when we previewed Week 9, because the weather in Buffalo was so nice, I said that this game could very easily turn into a shootout, and ultimately, that's exactly what the game became, as the Bills were able to win 44-34. So Russell Wilson, 28 for 41, 390 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And remember, both of their top running backs were hurt. They had their third string running back who became the starter. He was ineffective. And then his backup was a guy who they elevated from the practice squad. He was ineffective. So basically, offensively, it turned into Russell, go out there and make a play for us. And you know what? They gave it a good effort. You know, DK Metcalf continues to just, you know, his reign of terror on cornerbacks and safeties in the league. He went over 100 yards, had a touchdown. And, you know, that's a pretty good day for Russell Wilson, even with the 2 interceptions. But he was outperformed by Josh Allen. Josh Allen went 31 for 38, 415 through the air, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, which highlights what's been an issue for the Seahawks all year, their secondary play. You know, they are giving up big yardage to a lot of quarterbacks all year. They kind of lack the ability to really turn teams over with interceptions. You know, their big acquisition in the offseason was Jamal Adams, but Jamal Adams is more of a in the box, you know, stop the run, put pressure on quarterbacks type of secondary player. He's not one to really cover wide receivers and tight ends like that. So, and it actually showed in this game because the Bills running the ball wasn't effective at all either. You know, Zach Moss had a great day on the ground against the Patriots last week, but he did literally nothing in this game. So it turned into literally Josh Allen versus Russell Wilson, and Josh Allen just outperformed him. But even with Seattle scoring 34 points, the Bills defense did create a lot of havoc. You know, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles they caused and recovered. They also had 5 sacks on Russell Wilson. So the defense did do something. The Seahawks did have 7 sacks of their own, but it wasn't enough as Josh Allen and the Bills moved to 7-2. They keep their game-and-a-half lead in the AFC East. And, you know, when the season started, everybody was looking to see who was the team that was going to take over that division with Brady gone and with the Patriots, you know, seemingly being in transition. And most people did say Buffalo, and now it's kind of looking like Buffalo is starting to, I guess, have its way with the division. Although, like I just said, the Dolphins are definitely going to make it tough on them. And, you know, New England is sitting at 3-5. We'll have to see there if anything can be done. But being 3.5 out for New England, you could kind of knock them out of the division race at least. So right now it's down to the Dolphins and the Bills. And the Bills, you know, they've had their ups and downs in this season. They've been very inconsistent. But 7-2 is 7-2. And they're another team that the back half of their schedule, there's some winnable games there. So I think it's going to come down to the last couple of weeks. Because the Bills' schedule going forward is a little tougher than Miami's. So maybe there's a way in there for Miami to make up that game-and-a-half lead that the Bills have. And, you know, crazier things have happened. This is sports 2020. All bets are out the window. Anything that you think can happen is bound to happen. Which is why I wouldn't completely write off the Patriots, because who knows? For all we know, Patriots go on a run, you know, win their last 8 games and win the division. It'd be crazy, but like I said, 2020, expect the unexpected. So those are the observations I made from week 9. You know, there were some other great games in there, but those 3, I guess, storylines really stood out to me. And just to, I guess, tie in the Seahawks story, just to put a bow on that one. The Seahawks now, by losing that, have, you know, created a real crunch in the NFC playoff race right now. So the Seahawks all this time had a game and a half lead for the 1 seed. But now after the past few weeks, they now have the same record as the Packers and the Saints. And Tampa Bay is 6-3. So those other teams are 6-2. Tampa Bay is right there at 6-3. So now the 1 seed is now a race of 4 teams. And even behind those teams, you have the Cardinals, Rams 5-3. The Bears are still there 5-4. So hopefully this isn't a game that comes back and bites Seattle in the end, because Seattle definitely wants that home field advantage, because we know the NFL is not going to go to a bubble system. At least right now, they're not. So, yeah. I mean, like I said, Seahawks were my pick in the NFC. So this definitely hurts, because looking at, you know, Tampa Bay, Saints, Green Bay, they all have great home field advantages as well. And it would be tough for Seattle to have to go there in an NFC championship or second round, whatever. But yeah, so like as of right now, the Seahawks are the number 2 seed based off of the tiebreaker with the Saints. So definitely a race in the NFC playoff picture to watch going into the second half. But yeah, so that's the wrap up of week 9 in terms of observations. So now to the part of the show where we go ahead, take a look at my picks, see how well I did, see if I could, erase the last couple of weeks where I went 2-4 last week. I was 3-3 the week before, which is no good. I've dipped below 500 at 23-24. So I did say before when I made my picks, I felt a 4-2 week coming. I would hope for, I wouldn't be mad at a 5-1 or a perfect week, but I'm shooting for 4-2. So let's go ahead and get started with those picks. And once again, if you're new or just need a reminder, I always do the Thursday night game, Sunday night game, Monday night game, Falcons game, Patriots game, and then a wild card game, just to make 6. So I always do 6 picks a week. So to get it started, Thursday night was Green Bay, San Francisco. Green Bay was the favorite in that matchup, 2.5-point favorite. I took Green Bay to cover, and Green Bay did more than cover. They won 34-17. So that counts as a win. Sorry, wrong button. So that's a win. So 1-0 to start. Then second game was the Falcons game where Falcons took on the Broncos. The Falcons were the 3.5-point favorite in that matchup. One I was a little iffy about. I went with the Falcons in that one. And, it looked like an easy win early on. Denver did make a little comeback, but Falcons ultimately won the game 34-27, which counts as another win. So 2-0 on the week. Then the third game I picked was the Baltimore and Indy game. Baltimore went into that game as the favorite, 2.5-point favorite. I took Baltimore to cover, and they did, as they won 24-10. So Lamar Jackson was able to figure out that Colts defense, make enough plays to get the 2-touchdown win. So that's another win, 3-0. Fourth game, the Raiders and the Chargers. So in this one, I actually took the underdog in this one. The Raiders are a 1.5-point underdog. I picked them to cover and win, and they pulled it out for me. They won 31-26. So right now, 4-0 for the week. So worst I can do is 4-2. Already having a good week. And in that one, Justin Herbert with the Chargers. Yeah, they're 2-6 right now, but Herbert has definitely played well, and going forward will be great. That's going to be an actual interesting race coming down to the end. The offensive rookie of the year between Herbert and Burrow. Even Chase Claypool from Pittsburgh, you could put his name in there because he's come on and become the new number 1 receiver in in Pittsburgh. So, but yeah, didn't have enough to beat the Raiders. Now, game number 5. I did the Saints-Buccaneers game. So, this one, I went with the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers were the 4.5-point favorite. And if you watch that game Sunday night, it turned into an absolute just bloodbath. Saints won it 38-3. So that's my first loss on the week. And that's actually the game I felt probably the most confident about. Because I thought Antonio Brown and Tom Brady, come on. Saints, Drew Brees has been struggling. I thought it was a no-brainer. Clearly I was wrong. And as I've said the past couple of weeks, I might have to start changing the way I'm looking at the Saints. I'm not completely on the Saints bandwagon yet, but I'm moving more towards the positive on them. So They demolish the Buccaneers, take over the lead in the NFC South. So yeah, 4-1 right now. Down to my final game, which was the Patriots and the Jets game. Probably the most unlikely Monday Night Football game on the schedule, as Patriots came in 2-5, Jets 0-8, only winless team in the league. And it turned out to be a much better game than the Sunday night game. And I was ready to come on this podcast, this episode. I was ready to knock Cam Newton, to just, I don't know, cast him aside, to write his obituary, whatever you wanted to put it as. I was ready to do that. But Cam kind of showed something in that game. They went into the game as a 7.5 point favorite. I did take the Patriots in that game. I knew 7.5 was a little high, but I thought, with as crazy as this year's gone, I could see the Patriots somehow covering, winning by like 8 or something. Well, Joe Flacco and the Jets showed out well. The Patriots did win 30-27, but they did not cover, so that was a loss for me. So I finished the week 4-2. But yeah, just quickly with Cam. So here's the maddening thing with Cam, his mechanics still get him in trouble, but against that Jets team, they were down in the fourth quarter, down by 10. He led them on a touchdown drive where he ran the ball in for a second touchdown of the day. They were down 3. They forced the interception for Joe Flacco, which was kind of weird. After they had tied it up, Flacco threw the interception, which led to them tying it up with a field goal, all at 27. Then the defense stepped up, made the Jets go 3 and out. Cam Newton led them on a drive with like 1:35 on the clock. They had all 3 timeouts, so he wasn't that rushed, but he made some big throws, made a couple of plays with his legs. Jacoby Myers has turned into a NFL wide receiver for that team, and he got the win. So his status as starter lasts another week. So, like I said, I finished 4-2. Just to recap, I got Green Bay over San Francisco right, Falcons over the Broncos right, Baltimore over the Colts right, Raiders over the Chargers right, and then I got Buccaneers over the Saints wrong, Patriots over the Jets wrong. 4-2, I'll take that. That will move me up to 27-26. I'm back over 500. Isn't it ironic that the 2 games I lose had Patriot ties? Patriots' old quarterback, Tom Brady, couldn't get it done, Tampa Bay. And the new quarterback, Cam Newton, couldn't give me the cover. I was that close to going 6-0, but I'll take 4-2. We'll ride this wave and try to do better next week. But if you listen to my picks, they would have been winners for you. You would have made some money. So, just saying. But yeah, that will do it for the Week 9 recap. Looking ahead to the next episode. For all my NBA fans out there, the draft is 1 week from tomorrow. Yes, the 18th. So I'm going to start taking a look at some of the top prospects in the draft. I'm going to start with LaMelo Ball, as he's seen as possibly the number 1 pick. So I figure, why not start there? I'm going to do a breakdown of, his skill set, come up with a comparison for him, see if he's worthy of the number 1 pick, maybe give like a little outlook on where his career could go, ceiling, floor, all that. But yeah, I'm going to definitely start draft coverage next episode. Probably take the beginning of each episode leading up to the draft, look at a prospect or 2 that should go high in the draft, see if they're worth it or not, see how good this draft could actually turn out to be, for your teams out there. But Yeah, should have some fun with that. It'll be good to get ready for the draft. See what my Celtics do. Or for those of you listening, if you want to, drop a message in the Facebook page or at Chompin Podcast on Twitter, you let me know kind of what your team is. Maybe I could work in what your team should be looking for and who they should probably target in the draft. So definitely do that. But if you're new to the show, hope you liked what you heard in this episode, and come out for some more. So like I said, it's 43. You can go back and check out the past 42 episodes. The podcast is on all major platforms for podcasts. So wherever you listen to podcasts, just look up Chompin at the Bit. You'll find me there. As I said, go to Twitter at Chompin Podcast. Follow the show there. You can go to my YouTube page, Kyle Edwards. The episodes are there as well. So if you're new, if you've been here before, wherever you are listening, please hit the subscribe button. It would help out a lot. And yeah, so thanks for tuning in. Be safe out there. Once again, rest in peace, Tommy Heinsohn, and thoughts and prayers, Celtics family, NBA family as well. So yeah, thank you, and I'll definitely catch you the next episode. All right.